Imagine being 15 years old, sitting in a classroom where no matter how hard you work, your teacher has already decided she doesn't like you. She singles you out, makes your life miserable, and even laughs in your face when you tell her your biggest wish is to finally succeed in her class. Now, imagine being the one student who finally turns the tables, exposing her cruelty in front of the entire school. That was my life in 9th grade honors English, and this is the story of how a teacher who tried to break me ended up breaking herself. If you've ever had that one teacher, boss, or authority figure who seemed determined to crush your spirit, hit that like button right now. Because what you're about to hear isn't just a story about a student, it's about standing up against unfairness, finding your voice, and watching karma hit harder than any grade ever could. I'd always been a solid student. Not perfect. Sure, I sometimes slacked off, but my teachers liked me. They encouraged me. They saw potential. All of them, except for her. Let's call her Mrs. W. She wasn't just tough. She was the only teacher in my entire school career who flat out didn't like me as a person. Part of it was because I played sports. A lot of sports. Basketball, baseball, and track. That meant traveling for games, which meant missing her class sometimes. But here's the kicker. I wasn't just gone for sports. I was also competing in academic events like math competitions and quiz bowls representing the school. And yet, the only absences she ever seemed to hold against me were the athletic ones. She made it her mission to punish us athletes. Picture this. We get back late at night from a long away game, exhausted, barely enough time to eat and sleep. And the next day, like clockwork, she'd double the homework load. And, surprise, surprise, she would only check homework on those days. She wanted us to fail. At first, I thought maybe I was imagining it. But then came the grading. While my classmates' papers bled red ink with corrections, somehow I get mine back with hardly a mark, and a score in the low 70s. It didn't make sense. When I asked her about it after one essay I knew I'd crushed, she didn't even flinch. She said, "You're only performing at 70% of your capability. Others are giving 90% of theirs. That's why your paper scores lower." I stared at her, stunned. "So my paper can be better than theirs, but you'll still grade me lower?" Her answer was one word. Yes. And just to prove it wasn't that I was a bad writer, she later recommended me for an advanced writing class, a year earlier than anyone was supposed to take it. The contradiction was insane. She admitted I had talent, but still punished me. By that point, I realized this wasn't about my effort. It was personal. She just didn't like me. As the school year dragged on, things only got worse. Mrs. W. didn't just want me struggling. She wanted me humiliated. She handed us an opportunity for extra credit near the end of the year. On paper, it sounded fair. Go see a local college production of Antigone, write a 2,500-word paper tying it to class discussions, and turn it in with your ticket and playbill. The catch: the play only ran Friday through Sunday, and the paper was due Monday morning. No early turn-ins. No exceptions. Now, under normal circumstances, that wouldn't have been impossible. But here's the problem. I wasn't even going to be in school Monday. I'd qualified for the biggest academic competition of the year, something the school itself was proud of. And it wasn't like this was a secret. For an entire week leading up to the play, I reminded her, "I'll be out on Monday. How do you want me to handle this?" Each time, her answer was the same. "Turn it in Tuesday morning." She said it not once, not twice, but 4 different times. So I did exactly that. I went to the play. I wrote the paper. I crushed it. Saturday afternoon, I saved the final draft, metadata proof and all. Monday, I competed, placing first in one category and second in another. And Tuesday morning, bright and early before basketball practice, I walked into her classroom at 7 a.m., ready to hand it over. She looked at me, cold as ice, and said, "I'm not accepting it. It's late." I blinked. "But you told me." "I don't recall that," she cut in, already shaking her head. I reminded her, again and again. For separate times, she told me. She didn't budge. Instead, she rattled off excuses like bullets from a gun. Another student managed to turn it in Monday. Yeah, because they lived across the street. I lived 20 minutes away, and I couldn't even drive. You could have sent it with your mom. She was also a teacher at the school, sure, But why would I think to bother her when I was told to turn it in Tuesday? You could have worked on it Monday night after the competition. Except my file showed it had been saved 2 full days earlier. None of it mattered. She flat out refused. So I lost the $25 ticket money. I lost the hours of work. And worst of all, my mom, who had already bent over backwards to get me to that play after practice Friday night, was furious on my behalf. She knew I'd been set up. And the cruelty didn't stop there. Mrs. W. loved to brag that nobody had ever earned an A on her final exam. She wore it like a badge of honor, as if crushing 14-year-olds' confidence was something to be proud of. One day she even asked us, "What's your biggest wish?" I half-jokingly said, "An A on your exam." She smirked, looked me dead in the eyes, and said, "Yeah, and I wish for $1 million, and not to have to deal with you anymore." That was the moment I knew. I wasn't just another student to her. I was a target, and if she wanted a war, she was about to get one. The day of the final exam arrived, and with it, the chance for Mrs. W. to prove just how tough she really was. She strutted into the classroom with that same smug grin, reminding us, "No one has ever scored an A on my exam. Ever." It wasn't pride in her teaching. It wasn't about pushing us to succeed. It was about control, power, her ego. The test itself was massive, 100 questions, plus a 5-point bonus essay at the end. We were given 2 hours, though we couldn't leave until at least 1 full hour had passed. I sped through the main exam in about 20 minutes. Every question felt straightforward, almost mechanical. But when I reached the bonus question, my pen froze. It wasn't asking about Shakespeare, or Greek tragedy, or grammar rules. No, it asked something ridiculous. What was your favorite part of this class? What did you learn? That's when it hit me. This was my moment. My one chance to finally speak the truth. So I let loose. I wrote, line after line, with the kind of focus I'd never felt before. My hands shook, but not with fear, with adrenaline. I wrote that I wasn't sure I had learned anything in her class, because she never once gave me constructive feedback on how to improve my writing. I wrote that my favorite part of the class was it finally ending. I detailed how unfairly she treated me, how she loaded us with busy work, and how she punished athletes simply for playing the sports that represented our school. And finally, I wrote the words that had been burning inside me all year. You are, without question, the worst teacher I've ever had. The school is worse off with you teaching 9th grade. By the time I finished, I still had 30 minutes left before the hour mark. I was the only student to walk out at that exact moment, exam clutched in my hand, heart pounding like I just stepped off the basketball court. I didn't know it yet, but those 5 little bonus points were about to cause the biggest explosion of the year. I waited outside in the breezeway for my mom, who was proctoring another exam. My chest still buzzed with that mix of fear and release. And then, suddenly, Mrs. W. stormed out of the exam room. Her face was pale, eyes red and wet. She was clutching my test. Through choked tears, she snapped, "Meet me in the principal's office. Now." For a split second, I thought I was in trouble. Maybe I'd gone too far. Maybe she had some way to tank me for good. But when I sat outside the office, the soccer coach passed by, glanced at me, and said with a grin, "Surprised to see you here." That's when I realized the power had shifted. Inside the principal's office, she tried to tear into me. She cried. She screamed. Her voice cracked. She even dragged my mom in, hoping she'd take her side. But then, after 45 minutes of her tantrum, the principal calmly asked one question. How much was the bonus worth? She sniffled. 5 points. He leaned back, sighed, and said, "Then just don't give him the bonus points." That was it. That was her grand revenge. My 103 became a 98. Still the highest score in the entire grade. The next best, an 81. I had beaten her at her own game. And watching her unravel, watching her cry in frustration while I sat calm and steady, that was the sweetest victory of all. In the end, Mrs. W. never did get the satisfaction she craved. She wanted control. She wanted fear. She wanted to be the teacher everyone dreaded. But instead, she got exposed. Because word spread fast, faster than gossip in a high school cafeteria. Students talked, coaches talked. Even other teachers laughed about how a freshman had broken her down with a single essay question. And here's the best part. After that year, she never taught ninth grade again. She was quietly shuffled off to a different position, away from the incoming freshmen she used to torment. Some say it was coincidence, but those of us who were there, we knew. She lost. Looking back, I realized that revenge doesn't always come in the form of yelling, fighting, or getting even in some dramatic Hollywood moment. Sometimes, revenge is as simple as standing up, telling the truth, and letting someone's own arrogance undo them. Mrs. W wanted to humiliate me. Instead, she humiliated herself, and I walked away not just with an A, but with the satisfaction of knowing that my words had power. So what do you think? Did I go too far with that essay? Or was it the perfect way to serve justice to a teacher who never deserved her power in the first place? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, backhand index pointing down. And if you've ever had a teacher or boss like Mrs. W, share your story. And hey, if you enjoyed this tale of sweet revenge, make sure to hit like, smash that subscribe, and ring the bell, because I've got plenty more stories just like this one coming your way. Until next time, stay sharp, stay bold, and never be afraid to write your truth.